So welcome everyone, and for those of you just joining us, you missed some technical difficulties. We are now, I believe, past that. We are beginning the session. So the agenda for today's session together, we're going to try to keep it as brief and informative as possible, is some quick introductions to myself and my co-host. I want to talk a little bit about CDI, just for those of you who don't know who we are, kind of tell you a little bit about who we are, talk a little bit about the Google bundles, why they exist, kind of what you can expect. And then I'm going to turn it over to my co-host, who will talk in details about the different Google Learning bundles that we have available to us. And then we'll kind of wrap up by talking about what's next. How do you attend the next sessions, what's coming after this. And so that's really what our agenda is. Throughout the session, you do have the ability to ask us questions. We're going to do our very best to answer them as they come in. My preference would be if you could use the Q&A tab to ask questions. That way we can kind of keep them centralized. If you have to use the chat, that's fine, but we'll do our best to answer any questions that you might have for us today. And then if we don't have an answer or can't answer the question, we'll do some research and get back to you tomorrow. For those of you who are listening in, you will be sent a link for this webinar in the next 24 to 48 hours. That will be a recorded version in a YouTube environment for this webinar, so you'll be able to share it with others or review areas that you may have interest. So my name is Glenn Collins, and I am an executive VP with CDI. My job is business development, so I work with Google, Microsoft, Intel, and a number of organizations to really try to help bring solutions to the table that help our customers, the folks listening today, engage students in a more impactful way and hopefully improve learning outcomes using the technology that we provide to them, including all of the services that we wrap around that. And Caitlin, who I have unmuted, and feel free to jump in. Caitlin is our partner in the Google Bundle Learning Bundles exercise. Caitlin, you want to jump in and introduce yourself?
Thanks, Glenn. Yes, hello everybody. Thanks for joining us today. As you see on the screen, I'm focused in business development for Google for Education. So a lot of these unique programs that Google is focusing on this year in bringing more value in return on the investment of the Chromebooks devices you're purchasing, we'll talk about today. A little bit of background in how I got to where I am today is that I used to be a former educator. So I taught in the state of Michigan as well as South Carolina 5th grade, and had a wonderful opportunity to study abroad and teach 4th graders in Cape Town, South Africa as well for a summer. So dedicated to education, understand what you go through as a school district and making technology decisions and the goals that you all have, whether you're a teacher, a technology decision maker, or an admin. These solutions that Google has researched and definitely vetted out to be utilized on Chromebooks definitely fit the needs of all three involved. So looking forward to speaking with you about these programs today.
Thanks, Caitlin. And I do believe that as an educator, you bring a different perspective to this than the technology people like myself do. So welcome experience that I'm sure can help us as we go through this. So I'm going to do a quick commercial on CDI, and then I'm going to turn it back to Caitlin to talk about the products. So just so that you understand the reason we're doing things like this, I mean, obviously we sell technology, and the big portion of our business is selling Chromebooks and laptops and desktops, etc. But our goal really is to help educators improve learning outcomes through the utilization of cost-effective technology solutions. And this is why we add things like the learning bundles, so that it isn't just a piece of technology we're selling you. It is a wraparound solution that helps you get there. I just want to share with you a few points about CDI that you may or may not know. We've been an organization selling technology since 1981, but truly education focused for more than 20 years. 85% of all our revenues comes from the education market. We currently have about 1.2 million devices under warranty in the education space. So we're supporting an awful lot of product out there. We are about to deploy our 300,000th Chromebook to give you an idea of the kind of impact Chromebooks have had in the last little while, if you didn't already understand that. We have about 10,000 customers in the education space in North America. And obviously we are education partners with folks like Google, Microsoft, and Intel. So our focus really is education. And again, I think the bundles we're about to talk about really speak to the kind of experiences we want to bring you, and more than just the technology. So just before I turn it over, I want to talk about one more thing about CDI, and that's really that we, although the device is kind of the core of what we do, we are a lot more than just a device, and that is in the services we provide and the accessories that we provide as well. So we like to think we provide the best warranty in the business for the best value. We provide complete deployment services so that when the product comes, it really can roll off the truck and be ready to go, or we can actually come on site and do that. We have some customization printing for customers on the line that have seen this. It looks fabulous. We can put your logos on the devices, and it really does make a difference in pride of ownership and reduces theft and breakage. We've done a lot of work recently in professional development, where we've worked with curriculum coordinators, instructional folks, and teaching staff to help them learn, both from a software and functionality standpoint and a pedagogical standpoint of how to utilize technology in the classroom more effectively. We have software tools that we provide, like GoGuardian, that allow you to do more with the devices in a classroom, than allow you to manage those devices and manage the students and those devices a lot more effectively than without those tools. And of course, today we're going to talk about Google Learning Bundles. And I think that you're going to see by looking at this that folks at CDI, folks at Google, and partners with us are really starting to get that we can do an awful lot with these devices, and we're going to help your students learn more utilizing those devices. The other things that we provide around the device are things like charging carts and cabinets, mice, headsets, and cases. So we like to think about the solution a whole bunch more than just the device. And I'm just going to throw this out at you, and then I'm going to turn it over to Caitlin. And that really is why these learning bundles came about. The Chrome ecosystem, whether it's a Chromebook or a device running Chrome, but the Chrome ecosystem is really starting to be the dominant platform in the market in North America. And it really resulted from Google doing a lot of grassroots work with most of the folks that are probably on the line today, or your peers, where they looked at teachers and said, how do we put tools in their hands to be more effective? And then how do we put a more lower cost device? And they introduced Chromebooks about 3.5, 4 years ago. And what we started to see is that everybody started to move to closer to a one-to-one environment, or some hybrid version of it, where at least they have labs where most students have devices. And really what's following that is, now that we've got these low-cost devices, and now that we've got the devices, we can really now start to deliver on the promise that in the technology world we've been talking about for years, which really is, how do we impact the learning outcomes? How do we change the way we engage students? And the next step in this process are things like the learning bundles that you're about to see. So I'm really excited, as someone who's been doing this for a long, long time, to start to see companies like Google really put together packages that make sense from a engaging the student standpoint. So with that, I'm going to mute myself, do my best to answer questions in the background, and turn it over to Caitlin. So let me just go back here and make you the presenter.
Thank you, Glenn.
You should now be able to share your screen.
Can everyone see my screen? Perfect. Thanks, Glenn. So I feel free to interject with questions throughout. Glenn, if there's anything you'd like me to speak upon, definitely let me know. But as Glenn mentioned, Google has definitely come full force into education, right? It started back in 2012 with G Suite, formerly known as Google Apps, and then Chromebooks following. So you'll see on the screen that at the end of the 2016 school year, Chromebooks represented 58% of the market share in North America. Okay, so that meant that less than 25% of Apple and Windows devices were being deployed in education. And it's that for various reasons, right? I think at this point in the game, most of you on the call are aware of the simplicity, the shareability, the security of Chrome, and how easy it is to receive updates and share devices with teachers, students, and staff alike. So today we're going to focus on the versatility and impact that these cloud-based devices can have, and what you can do in your school districts to bring more value in the classroom with your teachers. So just to give some history on these bundles, I'd like to start with this quote from our former U.S. Secretary of Education, Richard Riley. He once said that we are currently preparing students for jobs that don't exist yet, using technologies that haven't been invented yet, in order to solve problems we don't even know are problems yet. And when I first heard that statement, I really got goosebumps, right? Especially as a former educator. Whether you're on the line as a teacher, a technology coordinator, or an admin of a school district in the States, or even at a province in Canada, you are preparing the future of the world, right? So how do you prepare these students to not only learn the curriculum that you have to teach, but give them the skills needed to be successful? So back in 2015, Google said, we need to give our end users a bit of understanding on how to use these devices better. In the United States specifically, they've been highly adopted, specifically using Chromebooks to promote standardized testing. Meaning from the Chrome device management console, it was very easy to lock down those devices into single app kiosk mode so that the kids could take their tests without toggling out. It was a very secure platform and still is. In fact, there are some lawsuits going on in the United States with Apple right now in California and North Carolina because the platform was not so secure and kids Googled their answers. But that's just a side note. All in all, based on that, Google did a research project with the Economist Intelligence Unit and studied the student to career readiness of kids and what top executives in North America were looking for when hiring these kids out of college or even out of high school in some cases. And the facts were outstanding. So 51% of these executives said that there is a skills gap hampering or debilitating their organizational performance because the kids did not have the proper skills needed to be successful. And so these skills, we can kind of encompass them as 21st century skills or career skills, right? So problem solving noted as the top one. You'll see teamwork, communication, critical thinking, and creativity. So you and I both know today that no matter what job you hold, whether you're at a school, whether you're working for a technology reseller or Google, those skills are important, right? You're not working by yourself. You're not staring at a computer. You need to be able to work as a team, communicate, think creatively, and critically think to help solve problems. And these students were not getting enough experience of that. So what Google did from that research project is then partner with a professional development agency called IDI Tech Team. So they understood that these skills did not come naturally and that schools needed help to have these students develop and nurture these skills better. Okay, so schools like yourselves have the increasing pressure from parent communities and higher ed institutions to address these skills in the K-12 experience, but you often don't have the proper tools to do so. So these skills can be taught, and Google is focused on finding the right cloud-based applications to be utilized on Chromebooks to do so. And all of these applications can be integrated cross-curricularly, K through 12 in any subject level. So the first program that we came out with back in 2015 was Creative Apps on Chromebooks. Okay, this was the first. These apps were vetted out from educators on the ground, just like yourselves, working day in and day out in the classroom. They were proven to increase test scores, engagement of students was increased, and basically the gap was bridged on not only teaching the curriculum, but giving those students more experience in those career skills. So Creative Apps on Chromebooks has 3 vendors in this bundle that you can receive and purchase from CDI at a discount. We have Soundtrap, with a podcast and music creator. WeVideo is a digital storytelling and video editing tool. And it lastly, Explain Everything, a digital whiteboard. So before I continue to discuss this program and a few other ones, I do want to mention that this will be a high-level overview on what's available. We will be coming in the next week with some deep dives on each bundle specifically, where you will be able to learn more about every feature and function and how you can utilize it in the classroom. So keep that in mind. Soundtrap, let's talk about that real quick. So many of you out there, especially in Canada, are utilizing Apple devices. Okay, I know that iMovie and GarageBand you may be familiar with and using in the classroom. Well, you can think of Soundtrap as GarageBand and WeVideo as iMovie. But instead, Soundtrap and WeVideo are COPA compliant. That's needed in the US side to be used in the classroom. They sync with Google Drive and Google Classroom, and they can be used on any platform, not just Apple devices. It's a very user-friendly and much easier to use than iMovie and GarageBand, in my personal opinion. So if you take a look at these videos when we send out this slide deck after the call, you'll kind of see how these apps are being utilized in the classroom. And then Explain Everything definitely helps to animate and annotate kids' thinking. So Explain Everything is definitely enhanced touch device, but doesn't need to have a touch device to be utilized. There's a lot of science and math classes utilizing Explain Everything. One example would be with photosynthesis. One teacher had her class, instead of taking a normal end of the unit summative assessment, she had them work in teams, collaborate together in real time in the app, and basically show all of the steps of photosynthesis via dialogue. So they recorded themselves, typed out the steps, and actually drew out and annotated what that looked like. It was very unique. So just a different way of learning in that regard. So in the next couple slides, it just goes to show you some specific quotes from teachers who utilize these tools in the classroom and what that platform looks like. So I'm not going to read every quote. We'll kind of go through this, but this is something that we'll send along with you. You may be wondering, or maybe you're thinking right now, hey, I've used this app before, or I have a free version. I'm already using that. Why would I buy that from CDI? Well, in fact, yes, there are free versions of the creative apps available in any of the bundle programs I'm going to discuss today, but a lot of them aren't compliant to be used in this school. What you'd be purchasing from CDI is the Education Premium version, which allows you to have security, more features and functionality, and you can keep that app within your domain of secured walls, or even have different settings to allow different grade levels to present their work outside of your school domain. So it gives you more feature and function and allows the teachers to work in a secure way. And so on the slide that you see right now, it basically bullets out the differences of the Education Premium version in association with the free version. Same with WeVideo. Soundtrap and Explain Everything have unlimited cloud space, so the kids can make as many projects as they want throughout the year. WeVideo does have 5 gigabytes, which is basically 1 hour per month, which is, from what I've found in my experience, way more than enough than is needed for the classroom. So all in all, that's the first bundle. I will tell you, this launched, I believe, June in 2015. We've sold hundreds and hundreds of thousands of these apps to districts who, I can tell you, the renewal rate on these annual subscriptions is 100%. Everyone who has adopted these apps and integrated into their classrooms have found an increase in engagement and increase in test scores, because it allows the teacher to differentiate their lessons more easily. So for instance, back when I taught 5th grade in South Carolina, I had 12 different reading levels in my class. So you guys all know that if I were to give the same assignment to every single child in every subject, that's not going to do them a justice, and I'm not doing my job, right? So apps like these allow the teacher to differentiate more easily, and then the kids in turn don't even know they may be getting a different assignment from someone next to them. But when needed, they can collaborate together in real time in the app. So it's definitely very googly, if you will. They're not Google apps, but they're Google partnered apps that sync directly to Google Drive and Google Classroom. So with the success of the Creative Apps Bundle program, Google came out with the second bundle program called Active Listening Apps on Chromebooks. This one was geared towards English as second language learners and struggling readers. So we have 2 apps in this bundle, one being Text Help Tool Fluency Tutor and ListenWise. And so these two applications essentially are very unique in the fact that the teacher is able to specify a specific reading passage per lexile or reading level of the child and have that child read it through the app back to the teacher. And the teacher is able to give real-time feedback, which is great. The teacher can also create quizzes to test reading comprehension, not just fluency, and be able to dial down specific data and analytics per child or per class. So if there's a particular standard that she realizes or he realizes the whole class is not really understanding, the quick data, the real-time data helps that teacher to say, you know what, let's take a moment and let's do this again. So ListenWise, at least for those on the US side on this call, has a great partnership with NPR, which is great from bringing in current events into the classroom. So these are two great videos that I recommend that you looking at after the call as well.
Okay.
So just as I mentioned,
I did see a question about price. So maybe you could just give a ballpark price on both.
Yes, definitely. So yep. So each bundle is based on quantity tiers. So the more the quantity, obviously the deeper the discount. But you can see probably up to a 35% off MSRP at most, given the quantity. So let's say you're purchasing 10,000, you're probably going to see it less than $2 per bundle license. So if it was this active listening bundle, that's going to be about less than $2, and each child will get a year license for Text Up and ListenWise. If you're only buying, you want to pilot 50, and you just want to test that out, it's going to be a little bit more expensive. It may be close to $9 per bundle license. You can definitely see the gap, but nothing is going to be greater than $10 per bundle license. So that kind of gives a little bit of an idea. And definitely you can contact your CDI sales rep for a quote after the call, and we can discuss different options on rolling out these apps to your school. But just as the Creative Apps bundle had, the Active Listening bundle we are selling the education premium version. So here you can see the premium version definitely covers some areas that the free does not for text help, and same for ListenWise. So you're getting more for your money. And even though you can download a free version, there's a lot of things that the teachers can't do without that premium version. And then the last two bundles we go on before we dive into some virtual reality stuff, Google launched this year, okay? So we have two new bundles that launched in San Antonio at the largest tech conference in the United States this year, was the Media Literacy Apps bundle and STEM Tools bundle. So Media Literacy Apps focuses on getting students more comfortable in doing research online and then annotating it for their projects and for their papers that they're writing. So Scribble is focused more on the middle school aged child, whereas Frontier aims at grades 3 to 8. So eSpark is the company, Frontier is the tool, and it basically starts with a specific question that a team of students needs to figure out through a project-based learning lesson. And by the end of that, they're able to present their work. And based on the settings that the teacher has within her account, these kids can pick an avenue to present, whether it's within the school's domain or even outside the school's domain. And then lastly, the only hardware bundle we have is with Littlebit, CodeKit, and Dremel 3D printer. So there's a lot of misconceptions out there when it comes to Google when people are talking about STEM and STEAM. You know, STEM and STEAM, science, technology, engineering, add the A, arts, and math is just hardware, and when in fact that's not true. And so yes, it is hardware, this bundle, but the first three bundles I talked about are all software related and can be utilized in any subject, in a makerspace, in a STEM-focused classroom, in an after-school project. Really, there's a lot that you can do with it. And so the STEM Tools bundle has a discount on purchasing the Littlebit's Code Kit, which basically is a great introduction coding into the classroom that engages students through, you know, activities they love and creating things. And then also printing their projects on a 3D printer, which if you haven't dived into, Dremel is probably the most cost-effective 3D printer brand out there at this point. It's very neat. So those do work with Chromebooks. You know, a lot of people think some of these amazing STEM and STEAM products can only work with Windows devices, and that's just simply not the case. So the thing to take away from all 4 of these bundle programs is that they were curated and vetted out by teachers, right? They're COPA compliant for administrators. It's a seamless experience on a Chromebook because the IT admin can push out these apps through the admin console to whatever devices they choose, whether by grade level or organizational unit to specific child, you can do that. But if you have a blended environment that also includes Apple devices or Windows devices, the app can work on the browser version and even an Android device as well. Each bundle program is an annual subscription, all right? However, if you choose to purchase apps like these in a 2 or 3 year upfront term, we can accommodate for you, okay? Not only that, if you're just wanting a specific vendor and not the full bundle, we can sell any of the products you saw as a standalone content. However, it's going to be standard pricing, no discount. All right. What's great about this is that a lot of people tell me, well, what about the kids who leave class or they move or I get a new student halfway through the year? That's fine. You can reassign licenses to different students as long as it's within that annual subscription. And as I mentioned, the discounted bundle pricing is great. And I can tell you there's only specific technology resellers who are being approved to sell this content. And CDI has a great team because they realize that yes, this is a great product and can help schools prepare the students of the future, right? But also prepare them how to use it. So we do have professional development opportunities with any of these apps that can be given webinar facing or even on site that will give these teachers and staff members the chance to not only learn more about the product itself, but how to actually integrate it. Because it's one thing to know what a product does, but it's a completely other thing to know how to integrate it. And I can speak from experience, teachers will not use this unless given the proper training. And it all starts with training. So as far as resources going forward from here, there's some great Google blogs and a content website out there on all of these bundle programs. You can kind of get Google's perspective on why they chose those apps and hear from the vendors themselves. As I mentioned, myself, as well as the rest of the CDI Google team, is here to help facilitate any webinars one-to-one with you and any calls for any questions. And we are able to give you demo accounts as needed. So if you want to get that premium version that I mentioned and see what it's about for yourself, we can get you that. You can test that out before purchasing. And as I mentioned, professional development is key on that facilitation. So when you're thinking about purchasing technology for your schools and school districts, you want to make sure you're getting the most bang for your buck, right? And purchasing apps like these that can be utilized in many grade levels, many subjects at any device really helps with that budget that you're working with, right? So that's the first part of my presentation here. Do we have any other questions before I continue on to virtual reality?
Hang on, I forgot to unmute myself. There was somebody sent in one of the chats, can we create our own bundle? I'm assuming they're thinking,
can you repeat that, Glenn?
Yeah, somebody asked if they could create their own bundle. I'm assuming if they bought, some of this and some of that, but I think the answer is no, but I'll let you answer that.
Yep, so you can purchase any content that I just mentioned from CDI, whether it's the Creative Apps bundle together, the Active Listening bundle together. If you wanted one of the vendors in the Active Listening bundle and one of the vendors in the Creative Apps, we can sell that to you. It's just going to be the standalone price. So yes, it's going to be no discount, but you can purchase any of it standalone or together as the bundle. But you cannot mix and match a bundle to get the discount, if that makes sense. John, did you have a question? I think I saw his name just flash up on my screen. Glenn, any other questions?
Joan asked, is PD an extra cost or is it included?
So professional development will be a separate cost. However, it's customizable. So what CDI will do is we'll set up a call with you guys, with you and your district, and we'll discuss what exactly you're needing. And if we don't have a SKU readily available, we can create a custom statement of work and make that work for you with your budget. So obviously on-site training, we usually have about 1 trainer per 25 teachers and staff. And then if it's any more than that, you know, say if it's 50, that SKU would be quantity 2. But if there's anything in between and you'd rather do webinar facing or train the trainer type method, we're willing to work with anything to make sure it fits your budget. And also one thing I failed to mention, and I hope those in Canada aren't going to slap my hand now, but the only bundle available in Canada right now is the Creative Apps bundle. Okay, we are working to launch the other 3 in Canada as well. And the more you continue to ask and give us the feedback that you want it, the more Google's going to say, okay, let's go ahead and launch this. So all 4 bundles are available in the United States, but only the Creative Apps are available in Canada.
And the virtual reality, which you're about to talk about.
Correct. Yeah. So the virtual reality option that I'm talking about right now is only available in the United States. But if you're interested in Canada, let Glenn know, let your CDI rep know, and we can see what we can do about making that available in Canada. But virtual reality, you may have heard about it, dived in, checked it out a little bit. It's becoming more and more popular, specifically United States right now. So there's a report called the K-12 Horizon Report in the US that studies the market trends in education. You know, what's hot right now, what's upcoming, and what's being utilized. It's been out for the past 30 years, I believe, and they're often on point, very much on point. And so we're seeing digital content, like I just talked about, being the it thing right now. And you see as textbooks decrease each school year as everything's going towards online accessibility, right? But we're also learning that budgets are huge. And when schools are forced to cut budgets, we're told that 61%, at least in the United States, are going to cut budgets from field trips. So in the next couple of years, the K-12 Horizon Report foresees that virtual reality is going to be heavily implemented in the United States. And so for those of you in Canada, this is definitely something to look at. It's a very unique experience that allows teachers to take their students to places a school bus can't. So this video, I'd love for you to take a look at, but it takes a free application, a free Chrome web application called Google Expeditions, and it allows the teacher to facilitate a virtual field trip anywhere around the world. So this app actually has over 500 expeditions that Google has gone all around the world, taking 360-degree panoramas, you know, and stills, so that the kids can go to space or underwater or the Great Wall of China, you name it. And they're continuing to film more and more expeditions each day. And so we have here that you see on the screen the student device that's part of our virtual reality kit that we created with the Google Expeditions team. And it's called the Magellan. So we kind of think of it as an Android iPod Touch as kind of the joke, because we've stripped down the call functionality, and it's running Android 7.0 and is specific to educational apps. So all the apps I just mentioned that you can purchase can be utilized on this device as well. Okay, it's very cost effective to other virtual reality devices out there at MSRP $199. So this is something you can definitely purchase as a standalone, but we do have a kit available that you can purchase in 10, 20, or 30. And so in order to facilitate virtual reality in the classroom, these are all the pieces that you're going to need. Okay, you're going to need a wireless router, the Asus ZenPad, which for our kit, we've chosen to go with Asus, but there's other tablets or Chromebooks you can use as well. But this Asus tablet is basically the teacher tablet where the teacher will guide their students through the expedition. We have the Mattel Deluxe Viewmaster, which that Magellan device sits into, that the kids utilize to see the experience. And you'll notice the girl on the picture here, the goggles she is wearing does have a strap. We do not recommend the strap because if kids get dizzy, it's easier to take off without the strap. And also, lice is an issue. So the Mattel viewer does not have the strap and is also made of plastic, very durable plastic that can be cleaned easily between usage. White glove integration. So if purchasing a kit, that Magellan device will already have downloaded the Google Expeditions app on each device. Okay, and as I mentioned, just with the apps that we talked about, we have services and training available. We have the same to get this Google Expeditions kit facilitated in your school. So as far as the kit, Synex is the partner that CDI works with to sell this kit, and we have a few different options. We have the 10 kit, the 20 kit, and the 30 kit. So start small and go big. We've seen some schools buy a 10 device kit that different teachers can check out so that they can create this experience together and then gradually add on as they get, grant money, E-rate money, PTA money, etc. And so you'll see the pictures at the bottom. We do have a Pelican case that all of this fits into. However, that can get heavy. So by end of October, we will have a virtual reality cart available through Bretford. That will be a rolling cart, much easier to move around the school and check out between rooms. So each kit has the student devices, the student viewers, the teacher tablet, the wireless router, the quick charging station, and the custom created rolling case. That's the Pelican. And as I mentioned, the Google Expeditions app will be downloaded already to do that. So it's a very seamless experience. And what we do have that we're preparing to be able to send out is some demo kits so that your CDI sales rep can bring that to you and show you how it works before purchasing. So I'm sure there's lots of questions. I saw some hand raises. So Glenn, let me know what they are.
All right. I wanted to make a point in terms of the kit versus when you first presented, you were presenting kind of all of the individual pieces. I think the one nice thing about the kit is everything they need is in one place. They have one place to go and get support. We don't have to worry about the router not working properly because it's all pre-configured. And basically, it makes it extremely easy for teachers to use, which at the end of the day is the purpose of having all these devices. So you don't have to be an IT person. You don't need an IT person. You basically plug it in, and including the quick charge. So I can tell you that we have worked with Synex on this and asked all kinds of difficult questions, and they were able to answer them all very effectively. So I think that, from my recommendation would be to look at the kit versus trying to piece it together yourself.
Definitely. And so basically the goal of this webinar today is to show you that, Google for Education is not just the Chrome device and G Suite. There are a lot of other things happening that can only enhance learning in your schools, right? So we have a lot of these cloud-based subscriptions that can be utilized on your devices very easily. And we also have virtual reality partnered with great companies like Asus. Google Expeditions is a very unique app that you can even download on your personal device. So if you want to try VR at home, Google Cardboard is actually the app that you can download. And you can even purchase a Google Daydream viewer from the Verizon store. The Daydream is not something sellable through CDI or through the distribution channel. But there's a lot of unique things happening, and technology is only going to be continued to be implemented. So you want to make sure you're ahead of the game, stay in contact with your CDI sales rep to make sure you're up to speed on what's hot right now, what's coming, and what you can do to make sure that your teachers and staff feel comfortable with the rollout. Because if they're not comfortable, then the money that you're spending is not going to be worth it. So that's it for me.
Okay, a couple of questions came in. One was the price of the kits. So just in case you asked this question, just to give you really rough numbers, $3,700 to $3,800 for the 10-unit kit, and about $10,500 area for the 30-unit kit. So those are just some rough numbers, but we'd be happy to get a quote in your hand if you'd like. Anybody wants to reach out to their CDI rep, we'd be happy to provide a very detailed quote.
And there are specific grants out there that your school can apply for that are specific to STEM and STEAM products. So if you're thinking this is great, I just don't have the money to purchase it, let your rep know, because we can help you with the grant writing process and find the grant that may fit with the proper enrollment of your school.
And I had one other question about the router. Does it travel with the kit? And I think the answer for sure is yes. And the reason is that everything is configured to that router. They try to keep the traffic, from a technical standpoint, they're trying to keep the traffic within the classroom so that you don't engage
Exactly.
the network itself. The only time you engage the network is for the teacher's device to download the field trip itself. And then everything else is self-contained within the classroom.
Yep. It's basically to have a peer-to-peer network. Now, we do have the option to have the kit without the routers. However, we highly recommend the routers for the experience.
So the idea of today was to really give you a high-level overview of the 5 different bundles that we talked about. And in the next 24 to 48 hours, you'll all get an invitation to the 5 sessions that we're running next week. And in each of those sessions, Caitlin will be involved, I'll be involved, and we'll have the vendors involved as well. And we'll do a deep dive into the actual applications, the learning outcomes, and you'll have lots of opportunities to ask questions on very specific learning bundles. So I hope we give you a broad enough overview today so that you get an understanding of what's possible, because that was really what we were hoping to do. And then next week, we can get into a much more of the nitty-gritties of how the programs work within the classroom. So if there are no other questions, I don't think at this point, I hope everyone found that interesting and useful. We appreciate your time very much. So on behalf of Caitlin and myself and CDI, thank you very much for your time. As I said, you'll get a link to a recorded version of this within the next 48 hours. If you have any questions or concerns, please feel free to reach out to me or your sales rep at CDI Computers, 888-226-5727. Ask for me by name or ask for your rep by name, and we'll be happy to help you out. So I think that's it from my standpoint. Caitlin, anything else to add?
That's it. Definitely reach out with questions. This is what we're here to help. And when you guys get what you're wanting to help the future of North America, we're happy. So anything we can do to help, let us know.
Perfect. Well, thanks for your time, everyone. Have a great day. And again, on behalf of CDI and Google and our partners, thanks for your time. Cheers.